Why does it feel like NBA YoungBoy's freedom came with a death sentence? He's one of the most successful rappers alive, but also one of the most hated, most watched, and most targeted men in hip-hop. Every move he makes seems to set off alarms. Cities lock down, police flood the venues, promoters pull the plug, and yet the demand for him only grows. For years, YoungBoy was trapped inside, locked up, fighting federal cases, and living under house arrest. But the moment those shackles came off, chaos followed. His name hit the billboards again, and so did the threats. Because this isn't just a comeback tour, it's a battlefield. When YoungBoy hits a city, it's never just music, it's politics. It's revenge. It's decades of street history bubbling back to the surface. Every show feels like a test of loyalty, a test of survival, and a test of how far one artist can push against a system that doesn't want him to win. And behind the flashing lights and the roaring crowds, there's a darker question waiting. How long can someone live at war with the world before the world finally fires back? To understand why YoungBoy's life is always surrounded by danger, you have to start where it all began. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This city has bred some of the rawest street rappers in America, and some of the deadliest beefs too. Before the fame, before the platinum plaques, YoungBoy was just Kentrell, a kid from North Baton Rouge, running with a local crew called TBG, or Top Boy Gorilla. Back then, TBG was rising fast. The crew had rappers like G Money and Fredo Bang, names that carried weight in both music and the streets. But within that same city, another camp was moving, BBG, the Bottom Boy Gorillas, and YoungBoy had blood ties to them through his cousin Boozilla. At first, the two sides coexisted, but jealousy, pride, and the streets don't mix well for long. When YoungBoy left TBG and started repping with BBG, the tension broke open. G Money and YoungBoy started trading shots, not bullets, but bars, diss tracks. Then, tragedy struck. Boozilla was killed in 2016, reportedly by affiliates connected to a crew called Forever Loyalty, who were tight with TBG. That's when things turned deadly. YoungBoy and his people retaliated, firing back at their rivals. In the chaos, one of YoungBoy's close friends, NBA Joe, was hit in the neck. Police booked YoungBoy on attempted murder, and the war between TBG and BBG spiraled into something the city still feels today. Even after being released, YoungBoy refused to let it die down. He went at G Money on wax, mocking him, calling out names. G Money clapped back in interviews, even claiming he'd slept with YoungBoy's sister. A personal insult that would only add more fuel. Days later, G Money was dead, shot and killed outside a studio in Baton Rouge. Police eventually arrested NBA Lil Pab, one of YoungBoy's affiliates, but street rumors said the real play came from YoungBoy's camp, possibly orchestrated by his manager, Big Dump. Months later, Big Dump himself was murdered, allegedly by TBG. Then another member, Boulevard Quick, was killed soon after. The bodies kept stacking, and what started as music had turned into a full-blown street war. Even when Fredo Bang, G Money's closest friend, tried to play peacemaker years later, saying social media made things bigger than they were, the tension never really died. YoungBoy couldn't let it go. He'd still throw disses, subtle or not, on records. And when he finally stepped back on stage years later, the world was watching to see whether Baton Rouge's old ghosts would follow him. They did. When YoungBoy beat his federal case and announced his tour, fans went insane. Tickets sold out within hours, and cities kept adding new dates. For many, it was the return of a legend, the most prolific, mysterious rapper of his generation finally stepping back into the world. But for others, it was a security nightmare waiting to happen, because when NBA YoungBoy tours, he doesn't just bring fans, he brings enemies. Police departments across the country were already on edge, promoters were nervous, venues were hesitant, and they had good reason to be. One of the most dangerous stops on his list was Chicago, the city where YoungBoy's name carries heavy baggage. The tension there goes back to 2020, when King Von and YoungBoy's camps collided. After Von was killed outside an Atlanta nightclub, people from O Block made it clear YoungBoy wasn't welcome in their city. They burned 4K Trey flags, called him out by name, and promised that if he ever touched Chicago soil, it wouldn't end peacefully. So when YoungBoy's tour announced a show at the United Center, alarms went off, fans were hyped, but the streets were not. Local authorities reportedly told promoters the show could only go on if YoungBoy agreed to cut one song from his set list, I Hate YoungBoy. That track was a declaration of war, a song that took aim at Lil Durk, O-Block, and anyone affiliated with Vaughn, but YoungBoy refused to change his set. His stance was simple. If he couldn't perform that track, he wouldn't perform at all, and so the United Center canceled the show. Behind the scenes, rumors spread that O-Block affiliates were already planning to crash the event. Some even bragged online about shooting up the concert if it went ahead. Whether the threats were real or not, the risk was enough for the city to pull the plug. Chicago dodged a bloodbath that night, but YoungBoy's message was clear. He wouldn't bend to anyone. Just weeks later, the same story repeated, this time in Detroit. YoungBoy had sold out the Little Caesars Arena, but days before the show, it was suddenly canceled. No reason given, no explanation, just gone. Fans were confused, but Detroit has its own history with YoungBoy. Back in 2020, rapper Sada Baby, one of the city's stars, had clashed with YoungBoy's brother OG3 in Houston. The details are blurry, but soon after, Sada Baby started dissing the NBA crew, mocking them online, and linking up with some of YoungBoy's enemies, including Fredo Bang. From there, it spiraled. Rumors flew that an FBG affiliate, Baba, caught Sada Baby slipping in Atlanta and robbed him, supposedly in retaliation for the disrespect. YoungBoy even referenced Baba in his music, further cementing that connection. And when a video surfaced in 2022 showing OG3 pouring lean into YoungBoy's mouth, Sada Baby mocked them again. YoungBoy never responded, but Detroit didn't forget. And when the arena canceled his show, fans couldn't help but wonder, was it safety or politics? Then came Atlanta, the city that couldn't decide whether to crown YoungBoy a king or cast him out. When he first arrived, the energy was electric. His show at the State Farm Arena sold out instantly, and at one point, local officials even appeared to hand him the key to the city. Fans thought it was symbolic, a new start, a sign that the industry might finally embrace him. But within days, everything unraveled. The city government issued a correction, saying the people who handed him the key weren't actually authorized to. It was embarrassing. And soon after, his second Atlanta show was abruptly canceled. Officially, there was no reason given, but rumors spread fast. Some said it was because of I Hate YoungBoy, the same track that caused trouble in Chicago, a record that takes shots at Gucci Mane, Lil Baby, and other Atlanta figures. Others claimed there was an altercation backstage between YoungBoy's security and arena staff. Whatever the truth, Atlanta was torn between celebration and chaos. Outside the venue, fans threw impromptu street parties, chanting his lyrics while police tried to control the crowds. YoungBoy didn't even have to perform. The city still turned up, but it was becoming clear his name alone could cause a riot. Still, nothing compared to Louisiana, because when YoungBoy brought the tour home, the entire state went on high alert. New Orleans, just a couple hours from Baton Rouge, prepared like they were hosting a presidential visit. The police presence was massive. 400 officers, tactical units, mounted patrols, even federal agents. They weren't protecting him from fans. They were protecting him from his enemies. The fear was that YoungBoy's old Baton Rouge beefs would resurface. TBG, BBG, Fredo Bang, all those names still echo in Louisiana's underworld, and when the show finally happened, it almost turned to disaster. Midway through the concert, chaos erupted, crowds surged, people screamed, and a video went viral showing YoungBoy being rushed out by police after gunfire was reported inside the arena. Authorities later said it was a false alarm, but no one really believed it. Even Fredo Bang couldn't resist commenting online, posting that it was beautiful to see the city come together. Fans thought he was trolling, and maybe he was, but the message was clear. Even at home, YoungBoy couldn't escape the shadow of his past. Afterward, his manager accused a local officer, Ann Kirkpatrick, of trying to permanently ban YoungBoy from performing anywhere in Louisiana again. Whether true or not, it showed how deep the fear runs. For the state, an NBA YoungBoy show isn't a concert, it's a security event. If that wasn't enough, his long-standing feud with Kodak Black reignited right as the tour hit Miami. The two have traded disease for years, but in mid-2025, Kodak took it further, calling YoungBoy's new album trash, accusing him of being fake, and bringing up an alleged situation involving mellow racks and an STD rumor. So when YoungBoy landed in Miami for his show, Kodak made an entrance of his own, literally flying in by helicopter with fans outside the venue chanting Team Kodak. The two never crossed paths, but the tension was thick. Two Southern giants, once collaborators, now moving like rivals in the same airspace. It was a reminder that in hip-hop, peace is temporary, and ego never sleeps. Through all of this, the canceled shows, the threats, the police escorts, one thing has remained constant: YoungBoy's following. His fans don't see him as a criminal or a troublemaker. They see him as a survivor survivor, someone who grew up surrounded by death and somehow lived long enough to rap about it. But that survival comes with a price. Every city he visits becomes another gamble. Every night on stage could be his last. And yet he keeps moving, keeps performing, keeps feeding the streets that built him. Maybe that's what makes NBA YoungBoy so compelling and so tragic. He's not just fighting the industry or the police or even his ops. He's fighting the world that raised him and the reflection that haunts him every time he picks up a mic. So where does this story end? Does YoungBoy ever get to outgrow the chaos that follows him? Or has the violence become too intertwined with his identity to ever let go? Right now, he's free. He's performing again. He's winning, but just barely, because in YoungBoy's world, every victory comes with new enemies, and every city he visits feels like it could be his last. He's one of the biggest rappers in the world, but somehow also one of the most hunted. And maybe that's the real tragedy of NBA YoungBoy's story. That freedom for him might be the most dangerous place of all.